Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 114 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choate. What's up? If you are new here, what I do is interview people from all walks of life, most often comedians and other artists, about their lives and careers. It's casual conversation, but I also ask everyone to highlight the people they love, who they admire, who influenced them, inspired them, or supported them. For more, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. And the Instagram handle is at peoplewelovepodcast. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Choate if you want to follow me. And please remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, 5-star positive reviews on iTunes, Apple Podcasts are greatly appreciated as well. So, today's guest is comedian Genesis Soul. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas, she tells me all about being a childhood performer, all about singing and dancing and beyond. Never shy, she recalls always receiving support from her mom and dad, and she tells me about how her younger brother and younger sister followed in her footsteps and got into performing as well, at least for a little while. But we cover a lot in this one: rage rooms, emo music, Genesis's stand-up journey, and of course, family. This is quite the epic episode, and we cover a lot, so let's just get started. Here's Genesis Soul. Okay, so it's good to see you today, Genesis Soul. Thank you for joining me on Zoom.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me on Zoom.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is, I'm very excited to talk about myself. It's my favorite subject.
It's everybody's favorite subject. It's themselves. It could be you too. I don't know.
Maybe. It could have been me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people love talking about me. We don't know this.
Yeah, some people out there, I'm sure, do.
Yeah, some people are out there being like, guys, let's sit down. Let's talk about Genesis.
Yeah, that's what we all really want, isn't it? Other people to be talking about us when we're not around in a positive light, but with confirmation that this is happening.
Oh my God, totally. Why do you think like people want to see, like, experience their own funerals? Like, that's what I would want, is like, what are people going to do at my funeral? What are they saying about me? How are they remembering
Who's there?
me? Yeah, who's there?
Yeah.
Oh God. Are there people who need to be uninvited? Like, no, I didn't like you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would be upset if I came back and I was like, I don't want that person there. It's not like,
right.
It's my personal funeral. Like, people saying personal things. I don't want this like person I don't like there.
No, I'm
going to put in my will all these people I don't want to be at my funeral.
That's so petty, and I love that. I live for how petty that is.
Yeah, I think it's thorough, actually. I think of it more as like thorough.
Yeah.
Dotting my I's and crossing my T's.
It's petty and thorough. It's both. And
we took it to a dark place right away, I think.
I mean, welcome.
But we were talking about death, but why don't we talk about birth, as in birthday? You just went to a birthday event, which was a lot more fun and joyous, I suppose, than a funeral.
Oh, it was crazy. Have you been to one of those rage rooms?
No, but I want to, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we went, and they give you like jumpsuits and face masks and a helmet and gloves. And we go in, and there's like a bunch of different, weapons. Like there was like an iron pipe. There was like different baseball bats. There was a mallet, like all kinds of stuff. And we just broke the shit out of everything. And it was really, really fun. And until the end, when the birthday girl got a huge shard of glass, like right up her Converse, like right through, and she bled all over her Converse, which were new. I know.
Oh no.
I know.
Clean that. You can probably.
I know. Yeah,
it's not a big still issue. Wet, so if the blood.
But it was so funny because like we did a before photo, and we're like, all right, can't wait for the after. After photo is her crying, us surrounded by her bloody foot, and us just like thumbs up.
Oh, you'll remember this birthday. I mean, she is going to be okay, I assume.
No, she's fine. Yeah, she was just a little concerned because she wasn't sure. Like, was there any glass left? Like up, up her foot. I think she's fine.
Did she go to emergency room or anything like that?
I don't think so. Like the thing is, like the rage room people were like just took it so in stride. They were like a little too chill about it.
Yeah, they're like, this is the fourth person to bleed today.
Literally, no, that's not even a joke. They were like, yeah, we had an injury today. Like, is there glass? No. Okay, you'll be okay.
These people seem super chill who run this place, so I almost want to be friends with them.
They were, you know what? If I didn't feel so bad for the birthday girl who was like legit crying.
Was she in pain or more like traumatized by how much blood there was, or the whole scenario? A little bit of both.
I think it was a little bit of both. Like, obviously, it was not like, I don't know if
it didn't feel good.
Yeah, it wasn't like a super great feeling, but I don't know if you've ever like cut your foot, like the bottom of your foot. It fucking sucks because like you're put that pressure on,
right?
And it just hurts.
Yeah.
But the shitty thing is that she had just celebrated not her foot not hurting. Like her other foot had just been like broken or like been injured and she was in a cast or something, and she was just celebrating how she didn't have it anymore, and then immediately fucked up her other foot. It's just, it was not good.
Is there a reason for stuff like that? Coincidences, some symbolism going on, something with their feet, why her feet are is there something deeper than
I don't know.
Who knows?
It's
just unfortunate. Bad luck. I mean,
yeah, that's
bad
just
luck
the
is
universe. Yeah, that's the universe just going, haha, go fuck yourself.
It's your turn to be the victim of some sort of cruel joke, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cruel just for the victim.
Yeah. Yeah. The universe, they're having a laugh, whoever they are. Yeah, I felt bad, but she's going to be okay. And then we very much demanded she got a free t-shirt.
Yeah. I want to hear about you smashing stuff though. Well, tell me about your experience.
It was so fun. Like I actually got this really cool video of me in slow motion. I like grabbed the bat and I threw like a piece of glass or like porcelain, and I threw it and I hit it. And as I hit it, another girl like opened the confetti cannon that we had, and then there was confetti. It was so sick.
Yeah, this is like a good way to blow off steam, is it not? It's got to be.
It was great. Like it was me and a bunch of comedians, and we were just yelling like, fuck the patriarchy.
Oh man.
Fuck everything.
Man. I can only imagine.
It was so good. At one point, they had a bunch of different like ceramic cups, like in mugs, that you just, drink coffee out of. And one of them happened to have Donald Trump's face on it. So we just like grabbed a little piece, like the one with his face. And then we were just like, fuck Donald Trump. And then just, it was fun. It was
How long are you in there for? Like how long is the whole
experience? Only 30 minutes, but it goes by fairly quick.
Yeah. That feels like a long time, but it also, I could picture it like, cause you're having fun and like.
Yeah. Honestly, it was the right amount. It was the right amount. I thought it was going to be too short. We were going to be in there long. We would want to be
probably get tired.
Dude, I got so tired. And you're swinging shit around.
Your adrenaline is, you get your there's probably music going or something.
Oh my God. Literally only heavy metal. It was, the vibe was immaculate. Like it was literally
Can you pick the music?
No, that's just what they put on.
I want to do like some ironic shit, like where they put on like "It's a Wonderful World" or whatever, the Louis Armstrong. Like some real
there was have
irony.
you seen Office Space?
Yeah.
Like the scene when they grab a copier and they go out in slow motion, they just beat the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Well, there happened to be like a printer or a keyboard, like I think it was both. And it was literally just that scene was us just hitting the crap out of this printer. And I really wish they had played that song. I forget what song they play in the movie, but
yeah. What about setting things on fire? That's not allowed.
No, God,
that's a different experience.
I wish.
Gotta go somewhere else for that. Maybe I'll open that up. People get to burn things.
Yes, for all the little pyromaniacs out there's so many. Yeah,
they need to have a place to go.
You
an outlet.
Yeah, it's like a controlled place to, you know, burn shit.
I was
And
kind of a pyromanic as a kid, a little bit.
oh, I definitely get that vibe.
I took the only time I really kind of scared myself was, remember caps that you put in like a cap gun?
Yeah.
My mom would never let me have the gun for whatever
Smart.
reason. But the caps I was allowed to have, and you hit them with the rocks, which is probably actually more dangerous than the gun.
That's actually so much more dangerous.
Because you're using your hands and you're
Yeah.
closer to the explosion or whatever. But
Yeah.
I took like a whole pack. I think it was like 5 rolls in a box of the cap, like 5 rolls, and I dropped like a big rock on the whole 5 rolls in like the driveway, and this
shit.
like big ass fire probably like jumped up into the air, probably 4 or 5 feet high.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
it died down quickly, but I was like, oh, what do I do? What's happening? It just kind of went out on itself.
Oh my
But at
God.
first I was like, I want to see what this looks like when I drop this boulder on this.
Oh, shit.
We're all
This-
crazy people.
Yeah, we're all insane.
Kids, crazy kids. But
My brother's
Yeah,
a
go
bit
on.
of a pyro.
Yeah,
My
we're gonna
brother-
get into all that now. I think we should probably talk about get into your story. So tell me a little bit about your background and where you're from, and we can start from the early days. I even asked, like, what do people remember from even before elementary school, of images or sounds or whatever jumps out at them. You're from Texas originally. I'll kind of let you fill in your family and your background and where you're from and all that, and give you the floor.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm from Dallas, Texas. And my mom is from Venezuela and my dad is from Croatia. And they moved there, yeah, like right before I was born, like, you know, maybe a couple of years before I was born, to Texas. And yeah, I've just always, I have a brother. I have a younger brother. He actually just graduated from college. Congrats to him. And I have a little sister, so I'm the oldest one. And my little sister is at Johns Hopkins over in Baltimore. So yeah, so they're good. I'm the failure of the family.
Comedian.
I'm the one who didn't go to college.
Comedian.
Yeah, exactly.
Not failure, comedian.
Exactly. I know. My mom is just pissed that she's like, can you please just graduate college? she's just like, I
So
didn't go to this
we'll get to it, but you didn't finish school. Is that what you're?
No. Yeah. I'll probably eventually go back just to, get it. But
Yeah.
School is so annoying to me. I can't imagine just going back and writing essays and listening to teachers. And I like learning. I'm a very curious person. Like, I like, learning about things, but and I right now I teach as well, but like I don't like regular school.
But if you're not going into debt, are you really learning?
Exactly. Exactly. I'm like, Mom, I'm not in that much debt. The debt that I'm in is because of dumb credit card shit.
You can learn from Professor YouTube can teach you.
Professor YouTube is such a wonderful teacher.
Right. I think so. I learn everything on there.
Oh my God. I literally used Professor YouTube the other day when this is how dumb and spoiled I am. I didn't know how to iron my jeans, and I was doing a show in Vegas, and I was like, damn, I've been wearing these jeans all day and they look so wrinkly. I need to go iron them. And then I was like, wait a second, do I know how to fucking iron? I went to YouTube and I was like, how do you iron jeans? And there it goes. It was like a 1-minute video telling me how to iron my jeans. I looked great. There you go.
Yeah, I've tried it. I've tried to iron for a minute there, but what did you? I mean, because I could see that I'm like perking up as you're saying that, because I'm like, oh shit, I could probably learn something from there. So, because basic things like you don't know how to. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
I don't know. There's things about I'm supposed to know that I don't know or not doing the right way.
Totally. And I'm very much a person where I'm just like, look, I don't want to fuck this up. So I YouTube the most basic tasks.
It's just the way you fold the pants and then you kind
of
go
there was like a specific thing. Like you have to you have to be careful to like how you like fold it, because if not, there's creasing, and how to press on it. And I was like, oh, this is great. Okay,
I'm
great.
definitely going to use this ironing part of the conversation in like the episode description and all that shit. Like, cover a lot, including ironing. Like, I'm gonna definitely put that shit in there.
Yeah. You'll learn a lot this episode, including how to iron your jeans.
What about young Genesis? What do you remember about, what were you into when you were like elementary school, and where did you fit into your family and society?
Yeah.
As a young one.
Yeah. I've been performing since I was like 2. And my first time on television, I was 2 years old.
Why your parents pushed you in? You wanted it? Like, how did that all?
A little mix of like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Clearly my mom noticed that I was an attention whore from a very young age. And the first time I was on TV, it was actually in Venezuela. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, but maybe people who are listening would know. There's a famous salsa singer called Celia Cruz, and she was there in Venezuela. They were like, they were interviewing her and her husband, and I showed up. My mom took me there because she wanted to see them. She's a big fan, and I was there in a little like, I don't know if you know who Carmen Miranda is, like from the 50s, like with fruits on their head and like a little like ruffle skirt and stuff. And my mom dressed me up as her, and it looked really cute.
And you were like 2 years old, you said?
I was 2 years old, and Celia Cruz like saw me in the audience, and she was like, "Who is that cutie?" And then just invited me on stage. And I just like hung out with her and her husband while they got interviewed on like national TV in Venezuela. And that was my first time. So that's more of a mix of like my mom definitely like facilitated that. But then there's like lots of videos, and I can even remember myself like, 3, 4, 5 years old, where I would see a stage and I would see, someone singing on it. And I was like, I would also like to sing and dance on that stage. And I would just jump on stage like while performers were doing their thing. And then I would just, sing and dance. And I was a cute, tiny kid, so they just let me do whatever I wanted. And yeah, and that was, that I've always just been that kind of person.
I've interviewed a few of them. There's a few of you out there who are just like, yeah, when I was 3 or 4, I just saw a stage and I was like, I'm going.
Right.
And they haven't really gotten off stage since, or left and came back eventually. And,
truly. Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever be able to not perform in some way or another. Like I've always been, it's just evolved. It's just evolved over the years, with like, whether it's singing or it's dancing or it's public speaking or it's debate team or, it's acting or now stand up, excuse me. Like, yeah, it's a lot. So I just don't know if I'm ever going to stop. And it's like the worst and best addiction ever. But yeah, I have plenty of stories of me just being like on TV and, or just being at places where I'm just like, I just have to like be the center of attention, like the worst kind of people.
Do you have any? It depends what they're doing to get that attention, I suppose, and what they do once they have it, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you have any notable memories, even from like, elementary school age of performing or being on TV? Does anything jump out at you?
Oh yeah.
Obviously when you were 2 years old, that was a story that was probably told to you, or you remember seeing videos.
Right. Yeah. That one I don't remember, but
right,
there's photos, there's videos, like, yeah. But as far as like me experiencing stuff, like there's definitely like, there's plenty in elementary school, like all throughout school, I did talent shows and stuff like that. Singing, dancing. And, people would just know me as that girl who sings and dances at the talent shows. But I didn't really like doing stuff at school. Like I liked doing all my singing and acting separate from school. Like I didn't really do a lot of theater, and I didn't, I did like 1 or 2 like musicals in middle school, and that was it. And, I just kind of like to keep it separate. because I was, I had an agent by age 5 and I was already like going out and doing all that stuff. And I just didn't want to, I don't know. I just kept it separate. I felt like it was just like school is school and I'm doing all this other stuff.
The other kids knew that you were into all this stuff though?
Yeah.
What did they think? Or did they not even think one way or the other?
I don't even know what they like. I don't even remember really. Like, I'm sure they thought it was weird. Yeah, like I think they thought it was weird, and they thought I was weird for it. But mostly, like, yeah, people just kind of left me alone, which I appreciate. Like I never really got bullied for it. Like maybe who knows? Maybe they've made fun of me behind my back, which I assume, but like it never really affected me. And yeah, that's just what I was doing. I think right now the first memory that pops in my head was when I got to be on Sábado Gigante when I was 7. And Sábado Gigante is like the Spanish World's Tonight Show. And Don Francisco is like if Johnny Carson was still alive, like he is the Spanish World's like Johnny Carson. And so I got to be on that show when I was 7, and like they flew me out to Miami and it was really cool. And I remember when it was a competition. They call it like Miss Chiquitica, which is like, Miss Tiny Cutie Pie, whatever. And it was like a singing and dancing competition. And it was 4 girls, like, and we're all like 6 and 7. And I remember they flew us out there, and the 4 of us and our moms were hanging out, outside of filming. And we went to this one square in Miami and they had this balcony outdoors, and there was a guitar player playing flamenco, and there was a flamenco dancer, like those Spanish flamenco dancers. And I had been like kind of into flamenco. I was kind of learning. And I remember I just got up on stage, like it was, this outdoor balcony thing. And I just went on I walked up the stairs, and I remember like the dancer was off, like she was taking a break. No one was dancing. And I go up to the guitar player and I was like, can I dance? and he just started playing, and I just started like, whatever. I was 7 and I never danced flamenco. And like, looking back now, it's so cringe, but I was 7. So people like, you can get away with a lot of shit when you're a kid. Sure. And I just remember I danced for a bit, like, maybe like 5-6 minutes. And, there was a huge crowd and people clapped, and that was cool. And then I, said thank you to the guitar player. I left, and my mom and I walked to a pizza joint next door. And I remember all these teenagers were there, and I was like obsessed with teenagers. I thought like I was so intimidated, and I was like, I can't wait to be a cool teenager.
When you were like 7 years old, you were already thinking about being a cool teenager?
Oh, totally.
That's funny, because when I was like 7, I'd be like, yo, these 9-year-olds seem fucking really adult-like to me. Like these 10-year-olds seem like, I would like teenager. That would be like, I'm not even thinking that far ahead. I felt like when I was 7.
Well, like, yeah, I'm with you there. Like, I think like anyone who was older than me, I thought was just so cool and so worldly. Sure, and like looking back now, they're like, oh, they were just like fucking 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. In this case, like in my memory, I want to say they were actually in their 20s, because I thought of them as like cool, like 20-year-olds, but really, I think they were teenagers. I'd have to like ask my mom again. But anyway, I go into this pizza joint, and they were like, you're the girl who was just dancing up there. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And they were like, can you sign an autograph?
Dude.
And I was
you got a taste.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. And I just grabbed a paper plate because it was this, random pizza joint. And I'll never forget. This is how I signed my first autograph ever, which was Genesis. And then it was I literally just did how I sign all my essays in 4th grade, where it was like my name, and then 4th grade, my teacher's name, and the date.
That's good. You're professional. You get all the info down. It seemed like you knew what you were doing even back then. You're asking the guitarist politely to play. You're thanking him, thanking everybody, signing autographs. Very like, how to, handle yourself and carry yourself.
Yep. Yeah.
You have instincts for it.
Yeah. And God, I hope by some miracle, like I think they tossed it out an hour later because they were drunk or something, who knows? But like, I hope by some miracle that those people still have that paper plate. If I can find that paper plate, like one day, I would pay insane amounts of money for that paper plate of just me just being like, Genesis, 4th grade.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still around.
It's definitely not
probably
around.
doubting that.
I know it's very much not around. But if it ever, so for some reason I'm like in Miami or something, and I I'm like, what if I just like put this out there in the universe?
I was gonna ask, what did your siblings think of your performing all this? Because your mom obviously was like part of it and seemed to be
very much
be involved or whatever. But what did the rest of your family think? Were they like, were they performers too at all?
Yeah. So, I'm the eldest. So my mom was very much just like, she was the one who like would teach me dances, and despite her not knowing how to dance at all, which is hilarious, but she'd be like choreograph me. And she was the one who like submitted me to the show and like, sent the VHS tapes over. And so she was all in. My dad wasn't like as enthused, but he was at least supportive in the sense of like, he just let me do whatever. And it was totally fine. Like he my mom was super into it, and he was just like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Why not? My brother and sister, I think it was mostly because I was doing it, so they wanted to do it. Sure, and so we all acted, we all took acting classes together. We all, danced together. Like there were certain like performances that we did, all the three of us. My sister plays piano now, so she's very much like musically inclined there. And she sings, a little bit. But other than that, after a while, like once they got out of their teens, they pretty much stopped performing. I was the only one who still does it. Yeah. And there, I think there was some jealousy of just like mom's putting all of her attention on her, and, just like, because it took a lot, like,
you're traveling, you're practicing and performing, you're just a kid, so she's like helping you, helping you, guiding you, supporting you, and
yeah, for sure. And so like definitely my brother and sister were just like, well, shit.
It sounds like you guys got along though for the most part, though.
Fairly. My brother and sister honestly were really good actors, and they did some projects and things like that. Like I think if they'd continued, they would have done really well. But they were just like, we're going to college. Like, we're gonna do different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were great for the time being when they were doing it and stuff. But yeah, I was the one who was really just like, in it and really like wanting to do it and all that fun stuff. But
I got you.
Yeah.
What else in like elementary school, middle school age were you like into? Were you into other things, or was it just really just performing? Were you a good student? Were you into sports, other arts, music stuff? Well, you were singing, but musical instruments or otherwise?
Oh God, musical instruments. I tried so many times. I took piano lessons. I took guitar lessons. I took bass guitar lessons. I did cello in middle school. Like I tried, but God damn it, do I hate practicing so much.
Oh, that's what the problem.
So much. And I wish I would have stuck with it or something, but I just didn't. I couldn't. Like I just hated practicing. I have my guitar here. And I've tried, like at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try and take classes online. And it just, I hate practicing.
Is it because they're teaching you stuff that's like not fun to play and it's hard to do it? Or is it just like it's not fun when you have to get past the point where you're such a beginner that you can't really do anything. Once you get past the point and you play a few chords or play a song or a melody or something, it becomes fun. But if you're kind of like can't get the technique down or something like that, or the whatever it is, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's just repetition for me. Like I just can't, like, repeating scales and repeating like the same like chord, positions, and it just was not fun for me. And also I'm not really great with like hand-eye coordination, in the sense of, you're playing one thing with one hand and doing something else with the other. Like I'm not really great with that. And that's all instruments. So I just was like, I just can't practice. The only thing I've ever really stuck with is singing, because I can just, and even then I don't really practice that often, like as far as like my scales and stuff, but I do it way more than I ever did instruments. So that sucks. Like that's what's made it really hard for me to continue singing and doing music, is because I don't play instruments. Like I just do not play instruments.
Do you write lyrics? Do you write lyrics?
Yeah, I write lyrics.
But you don't really write music to go with the lyrics, because
yeah, like I have melodies in my head. I used to be in a band, and that's how we did it, where like I would sing the melody and the lyrics out loud, and then the guys would play along, and then we'd come up with a melody while we jammed out. And I'm like, that was perfect for me, because I'm like, great, I get to like say the things that are in my head, and then you guys do the translating, and then I would just be like, okay, try this, and oh no, it actually sounds more like this, and then we'd be able to create something from there.
That's fun.
Yeah, that was really cool. But let me see, elementary, middle school, like, I mean, I sports, never been a really huge sports person. I like did tennis.
That's a sport.
It is a sport. Yeah, I would never say it's not a sport. I was just like, it was just like a thing.
But not a team sport, though.
I mean, I was on the tennis team.
That's true. Yeah, there are teams in school.
Right, but it was just like, whatever. Let's see what else. I mostly, I was in orchestra, do the cello. That was, again, whatever. I think mostly I was just focusing on like performing and things like that. I'm definitely a crafter. When I was in middle school, like I've always been like a little entrepreneur, and I started it started as young as like in 4th grade, where I started like a mini business, like flipping school supplies. I would go to Walmart.
Like drug dealer, but with supplies or something.
No, totally like a drug dealer, but it was like, yo, I got erasers. Yo, I got cool pencils. And so I made money that way, where
wow. That's cool.
It was literally like I would go to Walmart with my mom and then buy stuff, like find really cute stuff, and then I would flip them at school. And then I did that for as long as I could until the school was just like, you can't do that. Which I don't know why not. I'm still kind of pissed about it to this day, where I'm like, I came up with the initiative of just like, I want to make money this way. Kids were buying them off of me, So
yeah, it's not like the school was selling the supplies themselves, or were they? Were you cutting into their business?
Yeah. What's up?
Were you cutting into the school's business?
I think so, because they sold
they had a school store. You have a school store.
Yeah, but it was trash. Like it had no cute stuff, like at all. And so people wanted cuter stuff. I mean, you remember
the market has spoken.
Yeah, it was truly a free market system. We were in Texas. They should have supported it.
Yeah. It's crony. It's a crony. It's crony capitalism. Cronyism was going on. corporate interests.
Yeah, exactly. So that I remember that until I got shut down. But I made like a good amount of money for 9-year-old.
Sure, sounds like it.
Right. Yeah. And then in middle school, I made my own jewelry. I would like make my own jewelry, and I sold that at lunch.
Where's all this entrepreneurial come from? Is that from your mom or something like that, or her hustling you around town?
Well, I was the one who
You just wanted money.
decided.
You want to get some extra money for yourself or something.
Yeah, yeah. I've always, but definitely my mom was very encouraging. She was like, "Oh my God, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's I'm gonna drive you to Walmart right now. Let's try to flip it." She's very entrepreneurial and was very much always trying to find ways of encouraging me to create my own business, when this is something when I was about 9 or 10, I got really into balloon animals.
Making them or
making them,
making
them, making balloon animals. And I could make maybe 7 things.
That's a lot. I thought, yeah, that's more than I expected you to say.
Yeah, 7 to 10 things that I could make. And she drove me down to downtown Dallas, and I stood on a little corner and I charged people to make balloon animals.
You're like an adult kid. Do you act like an adult when you were a kid? Is that kind of what's going on a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
entrepreneurial spirit and just the way you carry yourself and having professional gigs and
yeah,
sounds like you were an adult where you was but that doesn't sound like maybe you were a serious kid. You still had fun or
definitely. Yeah, that was the good thing is my mom was, my mom definitely pushed me hard, and she was very very much just okay, we got to practice, we got to do this, and I always was I hate practicing. But she always was insistent of I had fun. It was never if I really didn't want to do something, she'd be like, yeah, okay, we don't have to do it. And I still hung out with friends, and I still, did, went to the mall and all that stuff. So yeah, I never felt like I lost my childhood or anything. She didn't Michael Jackson me.
That's good. That could be taken many ways, I suppose. Some good, some bad.
Yeah. She wasn't, at sometimes I remember being pissed at her as a kid where I felt like she was being a real Joe Jackson. But no, she was, it was cool. She never crossed that line. I still felt very much like I had a childhood. And I was the one who was just yeah, let's go do this. I want to sell balloon animals. Just
you were into it. You were into most of the things that you were doing. You didn't have to be pushed very hard to.
For sure. There was other things that she pushed me that I was just oh fuck, I don't want to do this. I don't know if you know who Selena is. Selena Quintanilla. She was the Tex-Mex singer.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So for a long time, I was a Selena impersonator when I was a kid. My mom made me custom outfits, her custom famous purple outfit from her last show ever. I had a mini one, and I just looked like it, and I had a black wig and everything, and I would just go around, and those are the gigs I'd book, which was just singing Selena songs. And that was, at times I really liked it, and then other times I was just oh God, I am so over this. I'm over Selena. I'm over these songs. I'm over this fucking outfit. That was the only time where I was just really Mom,
it got monotonous or something.
Yeah. Where it was just fuck. There was for a good 10 years, I could not stand Selena. I could not.
How long did you do this impersonation for, and how many gigs?
First time I did it was when I was 5, 6, somewhere in there. That was the first time I went to I remember I went to, that was the first time I was in a recording booth, recorded a cover of one of her songs. And then, I did that until I was 12, 13. And I was just so
That's a long time.
That was a long time. And I was so fucking tired of it. So for a good 10 years afterwards, I got triggered every time I heard Selena. and she's now, gotten a huge resurgence in popularity. There's the TV show and all that fun stuff. And now I'm I sing some of her songs sometime at karaoke, and, I still, I tap into that still a little bit, but, which is hilarious because I look nothing like her and I look so different than when I was a kid. And then people were just like, how do you know her dance moves? But yeah, that was the only time where I was just like, Mom, I will fucking strangle you if I hear any more Selena.
Oh man. Tell me what you really think.
Yeah, exactly.
What I was gonna ask, what else? I mean, what else were you into besides like? Well, you didn't really say necessarily what music you like to listen to. You said it seemed like you were almost like a sponge, willing to kind of like jump into whatever was in front of you. But was there, even as like a teenager, where there's kind of music you were into and TV shows you were watching, even maybe comedians? Like, what kind of like media and cultural stuff were you into?
Oh yeah, no, I was an emo kid. Like emo little punk scene kid. I loved Panic at the Disco, loved My Chemical Romance, Paramore, Fall Out Boy. Like that was me. I was super into Twilight. I went hard on that. Huge Harry Potter nerd. Like fully all of that.
What is it that appeal? Because that's not really, none of that is really my thing. I will say that. But a lot of people like, maybe it's just the time period or the nostalgia, but there's things from my time period, so to speak, that I didn't get into. But what is it about the emo stuff that's appealing to people?
Yeah, I remember. So like as a kid, huge Britney Spears fan. I was like a Britney Spears fan, like fully like into pop culture. And like right up until I was like 12, like sixth grade, I was like super into like High School Musical and all that kind of shit. Like it was very just like poppy, that stuff, right? And then I remember when I heard I Write Sins, Not Tragedies on the radio for the first time. And I'd never heard a song, especially a song on the radio that had cello in it. And I was playing cello and I was like, my mind was blown. I was truly like, wait, you can do that? That's how sheltered I was as a kid. Because my parents, my dad listened to Beethoven and my mom listened to just Spanish pop music. So I didn't know anything about like rock or any alternative, nothing. And that was the first time. And I just like, I remember I immediately had to, this is how long ago it was. I spent all day listening to, The Edge, which was, like Kiss FM, or not Kiss FM, K-Rock over in Texas. Spent all day listening and waiting until that song played again. And I was like, okay, what is it? Please tell me the name of it. I write Panic at the, got it. I wrote it down. And then I went straight to Walmart and I bought their album. And it was just an awakening. Like I just didn't know that there was other music out there. Like I didn't know about rock and roll. I didn't know about, alternative. And then obviously this emo thing, and then I just got totally obsessed. And then I made friends with girls who were like way cooler than me. And like, they already knew about the Smashing Pumpkins and MCR and Nirvana. And I got introduced to all of that through them. And then I got so obsessed and my mom was so pissed. She was just like, why are you wearing all black? I hate this. Like I went from like obsessing over Jesse McCartney to then obsessing over, Gerard Way. It was very night and day. And I just remember it was such a big deal for me. Like it was truly, I very much changed completely at that point. And I just realized like, oh fuck, like this is so much cooler. And I think that's what made it doing like all the Selena stuff harder, because I didn't want to, you're in middle school and you just want to be cool. And like, I was like, oh God, I don't want to do this lame, like Spanish stuff anymore. Yeah. I just want to like rock out. And yeah, and then from there, I just like, just kept going. I literally just listened to, just shopped at Hot Topic exclusively. It was really good. Yikes. And, I was like, freaking preps.
Very teenager stuff.
Very teenager stuff. But, that was like the main shift for me. And then from there, obviously I've progressed, but I still listen to those bands.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about movies, TV shows, comedy? Were into any of that stuff in high school?
Yeah, like movies. I had a huge Juno phase, especially when I first moved to LA. Like all of the casting directors were like, "Oh my God, you remind me of Juno." It was very much like that kind of smart alecky 16-year-old. Yeah, like a huge Dark Knight fan, like got really into Joker and Batman, and those are definitely like some of my favorites. Got really into, The Office and South Park, Family Guy, like what we were all doing as middle school and high schoolers. Huge SpongeBob nerd, still am.
Just a fan. You never thought, oh, I want to get into comedy in some capacity or comedy.
Yeah.
It was more just like stuff I like. You were focused on your own performances and things like that. I mean, maybe this leads to my next question is basically where were we headed? Like junior, senior year of high school, I mean, you did go to college for a little while.
I did. Yeah.
So, but kind of fill in, where you thought you were headed, blank. Where you ended up, and we'll continue the journey.
Yeah, let's continue this journey. Sophomore year, so right around when I was 16, I went to LA for the first time ever, and I signed with this manager, and came to LA for the first time, and got to go on the set of Wizards of Waverly Place, like on Disney, and I got to meet a lot of cool people, and then my mom and dad made the decision where I would be. My mom and I and my dog would move to Burbank and just do pilot season for like 3 months, just a couple months later. And so I did that. And so they pulled me out of school, like they pulled me out of high school, and I did online schooling for a bit. And then we came out to Burbank, and I did a shit ton of auditions, and like tried booking stuff, and got an agent and all that fun stuff.
Was this a good experience for you, or exciting?
Yeah,
experience?
No, it was great.
It must have been being a high school kid in LA, almost like.
Oh yeah, no, I meant like a lot of like the same actor friends that I'm still friends with now, and we were able to find this charter school in Burbank, which I ended up transferring to. So it wasn't like regular high school. It was, you only went like twice a week, and you would just go for, you had these packets, and you would just.
Sounds great.
Oh, it was great, dude. I was like so done with high school. It wasn't even like I was having a good time in high school, but I was very much just like, why am I wasting my time here when I should be in LA? Like, auditioning, and like, what is this? Why am I still doing this high school thing? This is dumb. And so I was ready to just get out and move on. And that's what it was. So I stayed here for 3 months, and then went back to Texas. And then my dad, God bless him, he had been trying to find because we really wanted to move out to California for my acting. And at this time, my brother and sister were also acting. So it was going to be all of us. And my dad got a job transfer to California. Like he was able to move, like stay in the company, and they moved him out to,
wow.
They have a thing in Irvine. And so we moved to Irvine, which I realized was like, oh God, Dad, couldn't your job like get something in LA?
Yeah, a little closer, Dad. I mean, I know
right.
You moved 1,700 miles for me already, but
right.
1,770 miles.
70 miles, just like a little bit more. Yeah. But no, they only have the one in Irvine, which like fine. But no, it was great. And so we, we moved from Texas, the whole family to Texas to California. And then my whole my brother and I, we both went to the same charter school, but my sister was actually enrolled in public school. And I was able to graduate like 6 months early, and met some of the best friends that I still hang out with to this day. And just finished high school in that very weird environment where I was just going a couple times a week, and really just like, you would just have to go meet up with the teachers and do tests, and then you were like done. And from there, it was just a matter of just, doing acting, doing singing, all kinds of crazy shit. Different, filmed a couple commercials, all that fun stuff. And I forget what the question was. Like,
where happened next?
Yeah, we're next. Yeah.
After high school.
Comedy was never even like, I knew I was funny. Like I was very good I had good comedic timing as far as like acting goes or whatever. But I never really thought about doing stand-up, like ever. I was thinking about this weirdly enough recently, where I was thinking about like, what was the first stand-up I ever listened, like I ever even took note of. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was a huge Dane Cook fan.
Sure.
Yeah. When in middle school, I remember I went on LimeWire. Yeah, he was huge. He was so huge. Like if you weren't listening to Dane Cook in 2007, I don't know what the fuck you were doing. And I remember I downloaded some of his comedy albums on LimeWire, and I uploaded them on my iPod, and I would just, that him and Mike Birbiglia, weirdly enough. Like, so Dane Cook and Mike Birbiglia, I was like listening to their stuff, and I could like, some of it I could quote word for word. Like I know their bits back and forth. And that was my first time really getting into like stand-up comedy, but I was never really like super into it. I was just kind of like, I just think this is funny, but I am an actress. I am a singer. That is what I do. And then it wasn't until like the last couple of years where people would tell me, like people will be like, oh my God, like you're so funny. You shouldn't be a stand-up comic or something, or you should try stand-up, or are you a comedian?
That's how some people get into it. Is everyone?
Yeah, right.
Everyone's nudged by someone else to get into it.
Totally.
Who I interviewed.
Totally. Yeah. And it kept happening like the last like 4 or 5 years, 5, 6 years, where it kept happening a lot. It kept happening so much where I was just like, why does everyone keep telling me this? Like, I know I'm funny, but I'm not stand-up comedian funny. Cause I had a lot of reverence for stand-up comedians where it was like, look, I can talk and be like, bah, 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 da, 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 look at me, I'm being so funny with my friends. Like, fine. But that's different than like going up on stage and crafting a joke and like, set up punchline and delivery and all that stuff. So I was very, very like, no, maybe one day I'll try it out. That's not me. Like, I can't, I'm too scared. And then I remember I randomly became an ordained minister, and I married some friends. And at this wedding, a lot of people, they asked me, it was so weird. So this is how they wanted to get married. They wanted it to be funny and sad. And they specifically asked.
Sad?
Yeah, funny and sad. They were like, we want you to make them people cry and laugh.
Oh,
and
well, not sad.
But emotional. Like, emotional. Yeah,
right.
And they specifically were like, and can you just like do a lot of like Adam Sandler jokes?
This is a lot of really specific things that are kind of like tough.
Yeah. It was really fucking weird.
Tough gig you got. This is like a hard gig for.
I know. And I'd never done stand-up before. I was just like, okay, I'm just marrying these people. And I somehow did it. I like did some like Adam Sandler references or something, and then made it really emotional and whatever. And then a lot of people were like, oh, are you a stand-up comedian? Or have you done this before? And I'm like, no. And this is my first time. And everyone's like, wow, that was so good. Like, you made me laugh. You made me cry. I was like, oh, cool. Thank you.
Mission accomplished.
And yeah, I know. Truly mission accomplished. And then I don't know. It just kind of stuck in my head. I was like, maybe I should finally like do this stand-up thing. But I was like, I can't just go to an open mic. I know that's how everyone does it. Like they just go to an open mic, but I'm like, no, I'm not brave enough. I don't know where to start. I'm not going to do it. And then I went to a seance in LA. It was like this witchy meditation thing / seance. And
yeah, there are those every night.
your weekly seance.
I was there. I was one that last night. I'm going tomorrow too.
Exactly. Yeah, my friend invited me. She was like, "You like witchy shit?" And I'm like, "Sure." And there was a comic there. There's a female comic there who's really awesome. And I was just like chatting with her, and I kind of like talk in bits sometimes. Like I just talk kind of in bit form. I don't know how to really explain it.
Yeah,
and she was like,
you speak in like a stand-up comedian rhythm a little bit.
totally. And I was doing that for like years, and I didn't know. And she pointed it out to me. Like I had no idea. She was just like, "Hey, you like talk like are you a comic? Do you do comedy?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "You should take this class I've taken before, and it's an all women's comedy class. Email them and they'll teach you how to do stand-up." And I'm like, "Oh shit, this sounds perfect."
What's your friend's name?
Joy Goring. Joy Goring. She's a comic. She like does, she's all over the place.
I recognize the name. I feel like I've seen her. I feel like I've maybe even seen like where they do like a class at the end, show at the end of the class or something.
Yes,
like
yeah, that one.
I feel like I've seen several groups of women do their final show of Friends and Friends of Friends.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure
I've
you
been
have.
at these shows. Yeah.
I'm cool. Sure you have. Yeah. And that's she's not the one who teaches it. She was just a student who recommended it to me. But Lisa Sunstedt is the one who created that. And she did the class, and I did my first class with her. And it's called Pretty Funny Women. And yeah. And they're around. And then I literally the next day I like emailed, she gave me all the info, and I emailed Lisa, and I was in a class, and I started in September. This was like in August, and I think her next class was in September. So I started in September of like 2018. And that's yeah. And then the rest is history, I guess. Yeah, just been doing that. I did not think I was going to do stand-up like as a career. It took me a really long time for me to even be comfortable with the idea of like, I'm going to be a stand-up comic. I was very much just like, I just want to do it because it was a bucket list item. Like that year I told myself like, I am going to do something that scares me every month this year. Like that was my New Year's resolution.
Should I be doing that? Should I make a list?
It's kind of amazing. Yeah, I kind of want to do it again. Me? Yeah, it was one thing a month that scares me. Whether
it's different than outside the box. Because sometimes I'm like, I'm going to step outside my comfort zone. That's nothing. That's garbage. Not garbage, but that's like fucking.
That's not garbage. This is great.
That's weak sauce.
Yeah,
like, no, something that scares me.
Yeah, it was anything. It was whether it was like, talking to someone who I really liked, or like, or just doing a thing that was like really weird and I'd never done before. Like I told myself like, I have to do one thing that scares me each month. And I promised myself that by the end of this year, I will try stand-up. Like I will try it once just to say I did it. I did the thing, bucket list item crossed. Right. And then I took the class, and like this all happened. And then and then I did the showcase, the showcases I'm sure you've been to a million times. Mine was in the main room at Flappers, and I did well, I did really well. And I just didn't stop doing it. I kept waiting for me to be like, I guess I'll just won't do it, or I guess this is going to be my last show. Like, I'll just do one or two more. But she was also booking like the Belly Room at the Comedy Store. So like a month or two in, I got to do a show there. And I was like, bullshit. Okay, well, I guess I'll just do that. And I'll just,
It snowballed.
Okay, well, it snowballed. Like everyone kept asking me to like do their show. And I was just like, yeah, okay. I guess I'll do it. And then it just kept going, and then I was like, well, now I have goals where I'm like, I really want to do this, 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 and this. And I guess I'll just keep going until I do these stand-up goals. And now I just do stand-up. So fucking weird.
Did you hit the mics hard? Like when you started to get more and more into it, were you doing like multiple shows a night?
Hell yeah.
Double-digit shows a week kind of thing. Lots of shows a week.
Never that much. I've never gone that hard, which I maybe like a week or two before like a really big show. I think my record is only like 4 mics a night, which is really nothing.
Right.
Um, you know, but yeah, definitely like the beginning. Right, because that was the thing. That's what I really liked about the class. Like there was a lot of emphasis on like I liked taking the class because I just wasn't going to go to an open mic myself and just figure it out. I just knew that about myself. And so I liked the class because it was all women. A bunch of them were just in the same boat as me, never done it before. Maybe they were actors or whatever, but they'd never done stand up. And then, I remember I went like after our first class, I went the next day to my first mic ever. And it was my best friend who's not a comedian. She was just a really good friend who came to support me. And then another girl in the class. And we both did our first open mics together, which was so cool. And I know I wouldn't have done that without the class, which I really appreciated. And I'm still friends with a lot of those girls to this day. We book each other on each other's shows because a lot of them are producers now, or I'll see them on lineups and I'm like, yo. And a lot of them, a lot of the girls are still doing it,
It's a community. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really sick. Really, really liked it. And then, yeah, I was, because that showcase, we had like 2 months before the showcase, right at Flappers. And I was like, oh man, I am not going to like eat shit on that. Like I refuse to eat shit on that grad show. And I hit mics hard. Like I was just going to, anywhere from like Fourth Wall to the Flappers mics to anything. I went to so many weird mics that, they don't even exist anymore, especially post pandemic. And yeah, I was just hitting it really, really hard. And I went to a mic even like the day of the showcase. Like, I was like, this is my last chance. I don't know. Oh my God.
Get one last one in.
Yeah, one last one in. Jesus. And then it was fine. I mean, it was also a very supportive crowd because everyone knows it's the grad, everyone's being nice. It's their first time. But, and B, all my friends and family were there. Cool. But still, I knew I didn't suck. I knew I did really well. And Lisa is great. But I always got the vibe that like she didn't really think I was that funny. Like I wasn't that funny during class. Like I wasn't that funny during class.
You're also new at it.
Yeah. But there were other girls who were new at it, but they were like naturally like dope.
Right.
And
there was different people at different levels a little bit for sure. Objectively at different levels. And there's taste. Like there's taste. Also, the teacher might not be into what you're into, even if you're not a master of a style that you might be trying or pursuing.
Totally. And I think that's what it was. But I remember I got off stage and I did really well. And then she was like, oh my God, like you did so well. It was like the tone of surprise. Yeah.
But that's kind of how you did well when it's that's when they can't hide how that's happened to me a few times where people compliment me and I can tell that they didn't expect whatever it is that I did. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yep.
I know for real that you're impressed.
Yeah.
To some degree, at least.
That's how I knew. Yeah, that's how I knew. Because I was like, I knew I had done well, but again, it was like my first show, so I didn't really know until she was just like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Oh yes, finally impressed my teacher." And
what about the next? I was going to ask, what about the next 100 shows and open mics? Did you bomb, or did reality set in, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that was like a hell of a peak. Obviously I've bombed. There's no, I've bombed. I will continue to bomb.
Yeah, everyone does sometimes, especially early on.
Yeah. But, I think my first big bomb was the second show. I think that was the first or second show. I don't remember if it was my first or second show at the Belly Room at the Comedy Store. And honestly, it wasn't that I did even that badly, but I knew it wasn't as good as I could have done. And my agent was there. I'd invited my agent and a couple of friends that I hadn't seen in a while. And I really wanted to impress. And it's the comedy.
An acting agent, or it's all kind of one thing?
My acting agent. I don't have a comedy agent because I don't really need one right now. I'm too new. but it's my acting agent.
It's
So
somebody that you want to perform well in front of, regardless.
totally. And it's the Comedy Store, and like I just was so nervous for that show. And I wore this fucking outfit where like these pants and this jacket, actually this jacket behind me, I wore that and it's open in the front. And I did this, it was this bit I used to do where I like twerk on stage, and I did it, and my my shirt like popped open. Like you could see my whole belly, and like it would look, I don't know. In pictures it looks weird, and I felt it, and I was like, it just threw me off, and no one laughed as hard as people had before, like,
It
and I
didn't
just
go
was
well,
like,
or how you wanted to.
again, I didn't bomb, but it didn't go as well as I wanted it to.
Right.
And I remember afterwards, like everyone's like, yeah, that was great. Like, but it was very much like, it was
Polite.
good. It wasn't amazing.
A little bit polite, yeah.
Yeah, it was very much like, again, did not bomb, but I also didn't kill, right?
Right.
And I just remember going home and just crying, driving back home, to crying in the shower. Like, just, I thought I had failed miserably, and like I embarrassed myself. Like it was, and then I didn't do stand up for like a month, I think. And then I was like, well, shit, I guess I'll just do it again. Cause I think I got booked on Flappers. Like they just booked me, and I was like, shit, like I can't say no. So I guess I'll just do the stand-up thing again after I've been burned. And then I just kept going. But that was like the first time I was like, it wasn't even a bomb. It truly wasn't even a bomb, but I was just like, so
it felt bad. It still didn't feel, it still messed with your head and gave you negative emotions clearly and all of that. But I'm guessing worked at it and got better, because I've seen you and you are funny. So
Thank you.
You've been working on it. Tell me about some of the highlights and even lowlights in the last couple of years. What jumps out at you that's been sort of interesting, exciting about your stand-up venture?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the pandemic changed the game, obviously, but I think
things are coming back, I guess, but
right.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is like, I'm very much a different comic than I was before the pandemic. Like I just am. I'm a different comedian, and I've leveled up. I'm not saying I'm amazing now, but I just notice I've gotten better.
Better. I was going to say, like, not necessarily like your persona or material per se. It's
no.
It's more.
I've just gotten better.
You're at the craft, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was because the scene changed because of COVID. Like, a lot of the heavy hitters, a lot of people moved. A lot of people moved away. And so then the people who stayed and like created that scene here, I've noticed everyone's gotten better. It's not just me. Like everyone I know has become a different comic and a better comic during the pandemic than they were before. And it's not that they were bad like before either, but it's just different. It really changed. It really, I don't know what it is. Like maybe it was because, the people who stayed really wanted to do it, or,
people writing more.
Yeah. People writing more.
I know I've seen comics get out there be like, I haven't done, this is my first show. It's only my second show. I'm rusty, but just because you're rusty, it doesn't mean you're not better. If you're writing and you're working at it, you're just not, you're not at your full force. But as far as like going through the process of from creation of joke to performance, like you're in the mode of that. People and others are too, it sounds like.
Yeah. I think you make a really good point about like the writing aspect of it. I think that definitely changed a lot for people, and I think, I think there's a big difference between the comics who genuinely didn't do any stand-up and are coming back, and then the ones who really like threw themselves into the scene, obviously like as safely as one could. That was the other thing too, is like I felt weird doing stand-up because, especially at the beginning where I was just like, like, is it worth it to go out and get sick or maybe get possibly other people sick? but all these outdoor shows popped up and outdoor venues and mics and things, and it became a whole nother scene, you know.
Yeah, I feel it's tough to get audiences to come out. Normally, I feel like a lot of the times the comedy shows, so let alone when you have all these other things in the way and obstacles and barriers, and all you're doing is trying to pursue your goals and dreams.
Yeah, no, totally. No, yeah, right. Like totally. And so, yeah, so I feel like I've definitely like progressed in the last year or so, and including my peers, and I've seen a lot of improvement, and it's really cool to see that. We're just being like, oh shit, like everyone just leveled up. Dope. I as far as highlights, like I've kind of do some really cool shows recently, like with like cool lineups and stuff. But I think a couple of the highlights, I got to play the Improv for the first time ever, which barely counts because it was in the patio outside during a mic, but whatever. I played the Improv, and
It counts.
It counts, damn it. And I did really well. And it feels very weird to like compliment myself this way, but I'm trying to get better of being like, just acknowledging when I do well, like, because I definitely have a trouble with that, acknowledging like
It's not just you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
But some more so than others.
Definitely. But I'm just trying to be more of just like, no, Genesis, you're not a piece of shit. You did well. Like I'm trying to do.
We're all having these conversations with
right.
ourselves.
Oh God, I know. Our brains. Why do our brains hate us so much?
It's kind of our enemy, actually, a little bit. Your mind is not really your friend in some ways. You have to like tell your mind, like, dude, you're not being rational right now. Like, think about how, like, if you were it's hard to step outside yourself. It can be done though, I guess. But it's hard. Like, I mean, I like play. I do play a little guitar, and I'm like learning to sing, and I'll record myself, and then I'll be like, that's not good. Or sometimes I'll think it's better than others. And then if I really want to give myself an opinion of myself, I think, okay, if I was walking by and I heard this person, heard this music, what would I say to them, or what would I think? And it's usually something like, oh, that's not bad. I kind of like that, but that dude needs to keep practicing a little more. There's something maybe.
But see, that's realistic. Like, that's way more realistic than like, I think a lot of performers talk to themselves. It's just like, oh God, that's total trash. Like, you're not allowed to make mistakes. You know, at least I feel that way, where I'm just like, oh God, like
But comedy is so like, it's so hard because like good ones will bomb and jokes will not work, and people just won't laugh sometimes when you want them to. But music is more like, once you learn how to play a song, like I obviously different audiences, different crowds, you could miss a note or sing a lyric at a word, a note out of tune. But for the most part, you're kind of repeating the same, you could play a great song and not even look at the audience, and be still connected with them, and they can be connected. Right. But if you're not engaged with the audience as a stand-up, like it's a completely different
thing. Yeah. And you can always tell too, like when comics are just not being connected to the audience, they're just saying their set. And it's not, a lot of times it's good. Like their jokes are good. People are going to laugh. But there's definitely there's a difference between when a comic is like focused and really like in the room and present.
Right. And I was just going to say that's something that I noticed that comes with experience. Like that's just as I'm not a stand-up, but just as a fan, sometimes seeing people who have been at it 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years versus someone who's like new at it, who's just like telling their jokes and not engaged and reacting to how the audience is reacting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That just comes with experience. There's no real way, unless you have a background in like theater, acting, public speaking.
Yeah.
Mostly everyone who tries stand up is just going up there to do their jokes and is not even really listening to the audience, which I understand.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I'm still like, that was something I really have been trying to get better at because I'm still new. It's only 3 years. Like 3 years is like nothing in stand-up years. And so I'm still learning. But something I've been working on is trying to not be afraid of the audience. Like that was definitely something, like, it wasn't that I was afraid of the audience, but I definitely did not like to interact. I didn't want to do any crowd work. I didn't really want to talk to people. Like, yeah, I'd like, respond if someone like yelled something out and be like, yeah, whatever, but I'm trying to get a lot better of just being like, don't be afraid of talking to the audience and like having a rapport, because the more comedy you study, you notice that like comics who've been doing it for a really long time and are comfortable up there, it's almost like a tennis game where it's just like the audience can lobby a ball, or the comic will lobby the ball to the audience and the audience will lobby it back, and it's just a back and forth. And that's when like the magic happens of just like really cool moments. And that's what stand-up is all about.
They make it look easy. Some of the really,
oh my
really
God.
experienced comics. They make it look they make it look easy. And it's funny because I think about like the comedians, like its job is to like win over the audience and make them laugh. And really, totally. I kind of think of it as like, unless you're depending on the type of material, for the most part, you want to put out the vibe. You want people to want to be your friend and like you. Is that yes. not true? Unless you're like some sort of edgy comedian who's doing either dark material or something, right. something, like that.
But even then, I will say that even darker comics, like your Anthony Jeselnik's or even your Daniel Tosh or whatever, like Jim Jeffries or whatever, they're still likable.
Right.
Like, I think there's a very key likability. Like you're still on their side. And that's the trick. Like, oh my God, just today I saw a comic. Like I did a set earlier today, and there was a comic who just starts like literally making, like he made a joke about like being autistic or whatever. And then did like those like offensive, like, autistic, Down syndrome, like voices and faces.
Yeah, some kind of impression.
Truly, truly awful. And I was just like, and that was like his opener. And you're just like, now, either you have to try to come back from this and make yourself likable again, which hard pressed, or B, like, I guess what he did was just lean into just being terrible. And he's like making jokes about how terrible he is. And it's not endearing, and it's not like, nothing about it was likable. And I don't think, and you have to be, the point of comedy isn't necessarily to be likable. Like anyone who's a huge comedy nerd, like comedy isn't necessarily about, the goal should never be, gosh, I hope they like me. But I think it's very important to have some sort of, if it's not likability, then it's trust from the audience. Like trust, like audience can trust you that whatever you're going to say, no matter how fucked up it sounds, it's going to be funny, or it's going to be coming at it in a different and clever way. And I think that's something that like, the greats can do. Every edgy comic wants to be like Anthony Jeselnik, but like never manages to do it, because I think they forget that it needs to be just, you kind of have to build that trust capita, with the audience. And that's a very hard thing to do. That's a very hard thing to do if you're going to go that route,
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's why, I mean, I'm not an edgy comedian at all. Like maybe I'll talk about raunchy shit, but like, I'm not like, whoa, let's, talk about things that people don't want to talk about. Like get in your face. Like,
yeah. And the people who do that, who want to be Jeselnik, it comes across as like, I want to be Jeselnik. Whereas yes. he's more like, this is who I am.
Yes.
Here you go. So
yeah.
It just has a whole different energy and vibe to it.
Totally. It just comes off as a weird imitation. And like you go to enough mics and you're just like, God damn it. Like, who is this you? Like, I think that's the other thing too. Is just like, is this actually you? Sometimes, and you can usually tell, because there are like comics in the scene where I'm like, God damn, do I not agree with a damn thing you said? But I know it's you and I know it's authentic. And that's why I still laugh, you know? But there's other people in the scene where I'm just like, this just seems like a weird imitation.
Yeah, I mean, that to be, I guess, somewhat fair, even comedians I've talked to, a lot of them, and they've seen other comedians, or when they're new, like their original acts are really just impressions of their favorite comedian or what they think comedy should be. And sometimes sort of through that process, you realize that, like, oh, that's not me. Or you're told by people who know what the fuck they're talking about. I've heard some funny stories from people who be like, why are you so angry on stage? You're not an angry person. That's not you. What are you doing?
Yeah. No, and
like, I guess you're right. That isn't me.
Totally. Oh my God. And I don't want to, I want to be clear that, like, that's not a bad thing necessarily, especially when you're starting out, like, to imitate other comics. Like, obviously,
dude, it's brave to just get on there and try.
Yeah.
Like, I admire that. Like, I mean, that's part of the reason why I love comedy and comedians and what you guys do, is because of, like, how the bravery it takes to get up there. I'm using bravery. It's all relative. I do realize the word bravery.
No, but that's still,
in like, this context,
kinds of bravery. There's different kinds of bravery, you know,
especially when people are telling vulnerable things on stage, things that I've heard you say on stage that people in normal conversation publicly are not really supposed to know about or hear. But that's why I go, is to, like, you know, partly to be like, oh, other people have problems and issues and things they're dealing with, and I can relate to that.
I've made it like I've made it kind of like my thing. Like, when I don't know what to write about, I just go with, what's the most embarrassing thing that you can admit to, and I just tell those stories. So all of those stories, like, that I talk about on stage have happened. They're like 100% real, and I was truly embarrassed or, you know, mortified or whatever about it at the time. But those make some of the best bits ever, you know? And I think that was, like, some of the best, like, advice I've ever read about comedy, which is just like, if you don't know, just start with, like, your most embarrassing shit, like, that you never want anyone to know. Talk about that. The moment you talk about that, it becomes funny.
What's funny or interesting to me is, like, there seems to be, like, a fine line between, like, self-deprecation and, like, being vulnerable about, like, maybe some dark things from your history or life, and like, it becoming like a pity party or something like that, like, or making the audience uncomfortable. Like, it could become a therapy session. So what I sort of like, I want to hear, like, people be vulnerable, and I want to hear self-deprecation, but I want it to be delivered to me in a way that the comedian feels confident and in control. It's like, don't make me uncomfortable, but, like, in the audience, like, make me laugh. Like, that should be the thing. The number one priority is to make me laugh, but don't make me, like, it shouldn't turn into a therapy session. But it's sometimes it's a fine line, because, like, you're I know it's tough.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree. And I think that's, you know, I think that's a good starting point, is, like, talk about embarrassing things or deep, dark secrets and stuff. But then the craft comes in with, like, how are you going to package that where it's still palatable? And it also can't be shit that, like, you genuinely are working through shit. Like, because I think that's why things about, like, sexual assaults and, you know, those kind of things, like molestation and stuff, like, jokes about that puts a lot of people on edge, because people don't know if you're still working through that unless you package it in a way where it's very clear that, like, this is a joke and I'm comfortable talking about it. And, like, you package it in a way where it's just like, it's not an issue. I've been to therapy about it, you guys. Like, now let's talk about how funny.
Right. It's like, it's almost like, all this shit happened to me. This XYZ happened. And so what? Here I am. Like, I love to see, like, that kind of attitude. It's like, you know, my family has this problem. My mom is this way, and this bad thing happened to me. But so what? Look where I am. Like, not necessarily in these words, but, like, that sort of energy and attitude. Like, I love that.
Totally. And that's where like the good shit comes from. Like that's where like, you get like the Tig Notaro specials or Patton Oswalt like special, like after his wife died, like that shit where it's just like, it then becomes a matter of like bravery in a different way of, it's not, hey, let me work through this with the audience there. Like it's no longer a therapy session.
I've already worked through it, and I'm going to tell
Yep.
you how I got to that point.
Yep. And now let's look at the absurdity of the situation. Because I think that's where really the great comics come in, because true good comedians, the comedian I hope to be are people who look at the world in a skewed perspective and can find the absurdity of the most mundane situations to the most traumatic. Like that's where like the real cool shit is, where you're just like, holy shit. Like, those bits where like you hear it and it's something clicks and you're like, oh my God, you're so fucking, I never thought of that. Holy shit. Like those bits are dope. That shit is like where I'm like, oh my God. Like you just took something, like, yes, Louis C.K. canceled, but I will say like he has so many good bits where he was really good at putting things into words that people had already been feeling, but just didn't know how to put things in words.
Right.
Like he has
that's your
like
job.
That. Yeah. Like that kind of shit where you're just like, oh my God, like that's what I
thinking up goofy shit. That's what George Carlin said his job was. My job is thinking up goofy shit.
Yeah, I know. No idea how this is a job. No idea how this is a job, but here we are.
Well, it's needed.
Yeah.
It's necessary. What about your mom, your dad, your siblings? Have they seen you do comedy other than the I'm guessing the first showcase?
The first one.
Do they come out and see you? What do they think about?
Yeah, my dad has never seen me do comedy. But I have showed him clips because I have bits about him. He's so Eastern European, it's painful. Because I have a bit about him, like saying like it's a true story about like his love of a certain movie, and I and they showed it to him, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, this is my joke about you," and he's just like, "Yes, it's true." Like it's funny. Or no, he didn't even go, it's funny. He's just like, yes, it's true. I don't know why funny. Like
I see what's going on.
Yeah, like he's just like, I don't understand why that's funny. Like that's just a true story. I'm like, Dad, like you just don't get humor. And I love that.
I'm sure there are Eastern European comedians, but perhaps it's not a hotbed for them.
It's just not, his sense of humor is so weird. It's so wild. Like the amount of times I've seen him laugh, and he laughs at the most random shit. Like I think he just laughs at like people being uncomfortable. And his sense of humor is like, I'm sure if he ever saw me live, he just wouldn't get it. He'd be proud or whatever. Like he'd be like, good job, but like he would not get it. My mom has seen me a good amount of times, but mostly like my first year.
Early on.
Yeah, early on. She hasn't seen me in a while, which I prefer because I've started talking about like my sex life and shit like that. And in the beginning, I really didn't have a lot of jokes like that. Just because I didn't, you're
getting more comfortable.
Yeah, that, and also just like, I know this comes from like a place of internalized misogyny, but it was very much just like, I don't want to be that comic who only talks about sex. But the thing is, the funniest shit happens to me when I'm naked. So I just happen to have a lot of bits about things that happen to me in the bedroom.
Yeah, if they're true stories, then it's not true. Then it's not like you're forcing any type of content,
Right. And in the end, it's also like, well, fuck off, world. Like, there's plenty of comics who only talk about stuff in the bedroom and they're doing just fine, and they're usually male, so it's fine.
I mean, you're putting thought into what you say.
Exactly.
That's all. I think that's all ultimately what you can do, whether it's a bit about sex or it's a bit about whatever it is. It's just like, do I want to say this? Is it funny? I'll try. You're going through the process, I guess, like you would any other type of material.
exactly.
You're
And
being
I
fair
don't.
to the material, giving it a chance.
No, you're so right. Yeah, you're so right because I, as long as it's not like, oh, let me just say this because I just to say it, it's very much just like it's true and it happened and it's so crazy that it happened to me. I can't help but talk about it on stage.
I think that's good also because
Yeah.
like a lot of the people I've talked to and comedians like are inexperienced ones, they won't talk about themselves. They won't talk about personal stuff. It's more just about like a lot of the time observations about popular culture. Like that's what people talk about. And
Yeah.
that's kind of boring to be honest with you.
I
Or I have Twitter for that.
Right, exactly. We have Twitter comedians who are so much better at that than we
I
are.
want to hear about when you're naked and having an embarrassing
Yeah.
situation happening to you.
Yeah. No, and yeah, you're so right about that. And I think that's something that people do. I'm kind of the opposite. It's very rare for me to have observational jokes. Like I have a handful that I do. Most of them are just stories about me, which, I want to be better at. I want to be a well-rounded comedian where I can like write a joke about anything. But I learned that early on where it's just like, things about you, that true stories about you are always just going to be funny. And there's fun. There's the more specific you are, somehow it's more relatable or it's just more truthful. And I think funny comes like things are more funny when they're truthful, I think.
Sure.
And then I think it's harder to steal jokes when they're very much
stories about you, yeah.
About me. It's very hard to be like, if someone else stole it and started saying that, be very obvious, like, oh, okay.
No doubt.
Yeah.
What about I was gonna ask, what about your siblings that they seen you more recently?
Brother, I think he's seen me do comedy maybe once, maybe twice. I actually don't really know. I don't remember. And my sister's never seen me do comedy. Yeah. So mostly just my mom. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure my brother has come to like a show.
But they're all pretty supportive, at least relative to the average family when it comes to one of them being a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. I think, my mom gets tickled pink. Oh, well, my mom always brings my grandma, but my grandma can't speak any English. So she's just like seeing me on stage. She's hilarious. I wonder if I should write a bit about this. I don't know. But I remember I did a set in the original room at the Comedy Store. And it was like my first time there. It was a big deal. And so my mom and my grandma came and and my grandma, because she doesn't know English, she's not laughing at any comedies. She's not laughing at punchlines, but she was laughing hysterically at the wrong things.
That's helpful.
So you would hear her laugh, especially because she's in the front fucking row, and she's laughing at like racist shit because that's my grandma. Like, because she's just just charmingly racist, I guess. And she's just like laughing because someone just happens to be Asian, and you're just like, Grandma, that's not funny. They're just an Asian person. She's just like, look at him go.
Oh man,
like,
the elderly say the most racist things.
Truly, I like have a whole bit about like how I just thank God she doesn't speak English because then I can just translate.
Could that be like a TV program? Like kids say the darndest thing, but adults or the elderly say the most racist.
The darndest thing, yeah.
Elderly say the most racist things.
Totally. I can totally see that being like those like YouTube react shows, like kids reacts, older people reacts, like kind of that thing. Yeah, no, but it was so funny because like it would just be silent because like, the comics would be setting up their jokes. And there's like my grandma just laughing her ass off.
Yeah, laughing at the setup.
Laughing at the setup just and not the punchline because she's just like, ha, black people. And I'm just like,
oh man. Well, at least you paid for a ticket.
Grandma, and she's only speaking in Spanish, so no one knows except for me.
I wouldn't be so sure in Los Angeles.
I know, that's so true. No, but she's like not even saying it out loud. That was the thing. It was just like I asked her after the show, I was like, Grandma, why were you laughing? Like you were laughing at random spots. And she would just tell me, and I'm like, oh, Grandma, that's not okay. That's my grandma. She has dementia. So we're just like, at this point, what are you going to do? You know?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it sucks. But, she's still sometimes a blast at parties. And, but yeah, so mostly my mom is as my mom and my grandma, I guess, if she counts. And then I have very supportive and amazing friends who, come out and see me, and they, God bless them to death, because, you need them for bringer shows and any show, so anytime my friends feel like coming out, and especially because I've been producing my own shows, and people come out, and I'm so fucking grateful. Like, I'm so like, oh my God, like people, it just becomes a whole different thing where it's just like, I need to sell X amount of tickets. I need to make X amount of money so I can pay my comics.
Always an entrepreneur.
Yeah, right. I know. I've never stopped. And now I'm producing my own shows, producing my own mic. And,
I have noticed that about some comics I talked to, that like they do have some sort of entrepreneurial thing.
That's a good observation. You're right.
Some of them was selling weed, other people selling school supplies, whatever it may be, like producing some kind of show, or showing some sort of event, producing leadership qualities, and
yeah,
some capacity early on.
I think stand-up, even more than, although acting too, honestly, any of the arts, like you're an entertainer, you're in the business, like, you're a filmmaker, like you have to be it's a one-man band. Like you have to be a publicist, you have to be your own
social media
salesperson, social media, like you have to do
many hats for sure.
Hell yeah. And especially with comics, not especially, just like in addition to that, like with filmmakers and all of singers, actors, whatever, comedians are the same thing. And you have to promote yourself. Like you have to book yourself on shows. Like if you're not out here hustling, it gets to the point where like after a while, if you're good enough and people like know you and stuff, and you're in the scene, you will be asked to be on shows. And that's a delight. That's fucking awesome. Cause it's like, great. I didn't have to do any fucking work. You did years like hustling, but like as of this week, I didn't have to, hustle that hard. Thank God.
Yeah, it becomes easier to book.
Totally. But like if before then, if you're not out here like posting the photos and like, getting your friends to come and like showing up to mics and showing up to shows and like putting your face out there. I mean, you still have to do that. I see all these comics, like, especially now that I've been producing shows, like there are some comics that have hit me up where I'm like, you're successful. Like you are known. You're still hustling. Like you're hitting me up.
It's stage time. Everybody wants stage time, I guess.
Everyone wants stage time. It's totally like everyone wants stage time. And especially if like, you're fortunate enough to run a really cool show, like people want to be on it. And it's very much like the hustle never stops, especially for comics. I think with acting, I remember that was also why I kind of like stopped, because the hustle for acting, you still have to hustle just as much as in stand-up comedy, but you have less control.
I was going to say that, yeah.
You have way less control. And I think, and I'm not saying you have any more control in stand-up comedy, like you're still at the mercy of like bookers and, producers and stuff. Like if they don't like you, tough luck, you're not getting on the show. Fine. But the difference is like with acting, it's a lot of getting permission to do the thing you love, like getting permission to act, getting permission from casting directors, producers, the network to do the thing that you love. Versus with comedy, you can do it multiple times a night if you fucking want, you can do it multiple times. The best way to do it is create your own show, create your own stage time, and you get to do it as many times as you want. And with, acting, you can still do that. And I highly recommend it, but it's just more work. You know, you have to be a good writer or be friends with a writer. You have to create your own material. You have to know a good film, you know, like filmmaker, director.
It takes more bodies, more people to
Exactly.
do the thing, let alone
Yep.
you often have to be selected to do it. But even if you want to
Nope.
do it on your own, you still have to build a team and
Yep.
infrastructure to
Yep.
make it happen.
And then, you know, if you have your own project, it's like, well, if you want to make a short film or feature length, like you got to get investors and maybe they don't want you to start in the project. And now if you want to start in the project, you have to like work even harder, you know, like it's a lot more variables to do the thing you love with acting versus comedy. I just feel like I have so much more freedom. Like comedy is freedom to me, you know, that I've felt really boxed in by acting for a really long time, which is just like, I, you know, have to look a certain way. I have to have my hair a certain way. Like I've gotten to like dye my hair crazy ways and it's okay. Who gives a shit? Because who gives a shit, you know, for comedy.
And because of like how life works, it would be surprising to me if someone came up to you at a comedy show and was like, I'm looking for someone with that color, with purple and pink hair for this role. It's exactly your thing. Like, do you need acting at all?
Yeah. God.
Because life can be that way sometimes. But speaking of producing shows, and I feel like I've taken up enough of your time, plenty of it. Why don't you tell people, you know, what you're working on, where they can find you, all that stuff. Anything else you want to cover? I'll, you know, give you the floor for that, but I'll kind of.
No, we've been talking long enough. I'll just plug my stuff. So I produce a every other monthly show. Like it's very sporadic, but I produce a show in Orange County and Anaheim called Comedy at the Haven. Adam, you've been.
And I was at that one. That's fun.
Yes, that one's a fun one. And then every week I am the host of all women's open mic called Witty Titties. So find us at Witty Titties Mic on Instagram. We're also starting to produce shows. We just produced our first show in Utah. I brought 5 girls and me. We went to Utah and we did a couple of days of just different shows. It was really cool. And I'm really hoping to expand to different cities and just showcase a bunch of different amazing female comics because we just need more space. You know, there's comedy is so male dominated. And, you know, it was so funny. Like after I started Witty Titties, people were like, oh, I wish there was like a guy version. And I'm like, no, there is. It's just called a comedy show.
It's called the comedy scene.
Yeah, it's called every comedy show you've ever been is mostly just dudes and then one token chick, maybe 2 if you're lucky. So I just wanted to start that space, and it's been amazing. Like I've met so many fabulous women, and you know, it's just been so much fun. So follow us there for shows and mics. If there's any female comics listening to this, please come. We're always filled on Slotted, but message me to try to get on. I have a wait list going, so I try to get people up as much as possible. And then and buy our merch. There's Witty Titties pins for $10 and Witty Titty stickers for $3. Because all of that money goes into producing more shows and producing more you know, just be able to like travel and open that space for women and you know, to have women, you know, women are fucking funny. And I hate that I even have to say that because it's a fact. But sure, we live in a world where facts are opinions now. So yeah, please come out and support because, you know, even if you don't like me, the other girls are really dope.
Yeah, it's the thing. You're seeing a lineup. You're probably going to like someone. You're going to like more than one person. You're going to like them all in different amounts. You know, everyone's unique and brings their own thing to the table. That's cool. You're working on it. You're making things happen. What about you? Where can people find you and follow you?
Yeah, my website is The Genesis Soul, so TheGenesissol.com. And that's me on all social media. So on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, all of the things. I am at The Genesis Soul. And that's where you can find me.
Cool. Well, we covered a lot. I appreciate your time, the stories. I look forward to more shows. I'll be looking out for them. And
thank you.
And I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Yes. Thank you again, Adam. This is so much fun.
Oh, you got it. Later.
Bye.
So there you have it. My conversation with Genesis Soul. I really thank her for the time. It's been fun getting to know her a little bit better for sure. But don't think I didn't catch her combining lob and volley when talking about tennis and calling it lobbying. I think that's what I heard. But anyway, for everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's at peoplewelovepodcast on Instagram. And I am at Adam Choit on Instagram and Twitter. And I think that's about all I got for today. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Let's talk soon. Peace.